Everyone sees change everywhere, and we tend to think about the future. We tend to assume that most things will stay similar and trends will continue in a linear fashion. This is almost never the case. The world is changing drastically in front of our eyes. How are consumer markets going to look? It's extremely important for businesses and also for individuals, as investors, as savers, and more generally as citizens to figure out what the future is going to look like. So in this video, we're going to tell you the world in 2030 and what happened to Earth. The video is going to be amazing, so make sure you stick till the end. So what about all the things here on Earth that will likely be happening by 2030? Well, ironically, a big thing that hopefully will have happened by 2030 is a huge overhauling of power supplies across the planet, from fossil fuels to green energy. And if you're thinking, isn't that something Elon Musk is doing? Yes it is. Because if you look at our world right now in 2021, Elon Musk by his company Tesla, as well as other companies, are working hard to not just make electric cars, but get them distributed all over the world. Tesla has been doing this since the early 2000s, but only in recent years have they seen not just a boom in success, but people willing to try them out. Furthermore, Elon Musk is making gigafactories to go and make even more of the cars so that they can fit the demand that is growing. So what does this have to do with converting to green energy? You ask? Simply, it has everything to do with it because one of the biggest polluters in the world today isn't the factories that make things or the homes we live in, it's the vehicles we drive. There are approximately 1.4 billion cars in the world right now, and while it's fair to say that not all of them are driven every single day, every time we drive them, we pollute the area in massive quantities. Switching to electric cars eliminates that part of the fossil fuel problem. It'll take a while to convert everyone, but in 9 years' time, that's a lot of potential electric cars out on the road. Furthermore, many nations of the world, including the United States, now that President Joe Biden leading the nation, are aiming to go and eliminate as many fossil fuels from their processes of life by 2030 and beyond. So by 2030, we might severely drop the fossil fuel usage that we have, which would be a big step indeed. Speaking of new technologies, many people are, of course, wondering about the entertainment features that we're likely to go and have when the next decade comes, because right now we have TVs that go and display pictures in 4K. And it's a beautiful thing, but where can we go from there? The question here is one of immersion, and many companies are already working on that via VR headsets to truly let you feel like you're part of something. But as technology advances, there's little doubt that they're going to go more digital and less hardware. By that, we're talking about holographic projections of the video game you're playing or show or video you're watching. A big reason that green energy conversion is important is that another major element when it comes to 2030 is the cities that we live in. How so? Well, if you take a look around the world, especially in places like China, Hong Kong, and the United Arab Emirates, and more, construction is going on at a massive rate. Mainly because many of these nations are looking to revolutionize their cities to be both more modernized as well as be futurist in their own way. A great example of this can be very easily found in the UAE, because the UAE has been overhauling Dubai for years in order to convert it from just a popular Middle East city and the home of certain religious attractions to being a place of pure tourism and changing the perception of the UAE as a whole. If you don't believe us, take a look at how Dubai looked even just a decade or so ago and how it looks now. They're constantly and consistently going and building themselves new buildings to sell space in, new attractions for people to go and see, and even building man-made islands in order to fit more of their attractions in there. China is doing this on a different scale as they're trying to modernize their cities so that they can fit their rapidly growing population. In recent years, they've even made a giant bridge to Hong Kong to help expedite the delivery of goods and help people across the body of water that separates them much faster. More and more people, especially big-time business people like Mark Cuban and Elon Musk, are buying crypto, and the results of this could lead to a wave of major businesses and even governments converting to cryptocurrency. They logically won't do this in full, as that's a risky endeavor, but by 2030, you're going to likely find a lot of people dealing just in cryptocurrency of various types rather than dealing with paper cash. What else is there to look forward to in 2030? Well, let's talk about the potential of medicines by the time the new decade comes around, because right now, as the pandemic continues to rage on, a lot of eyes are on medicines to try and help us contain and resist the virus that has taken the lives of many. The problem is that medicine is a science, but not an exact one in terms of when we'll figure things out. The pandemic vaccine, for example, in normal time, wouldn't have come out for years, but concentrated efforts were put out to go and make sure it got made. So people could be cured, and even then, sometimes there were issues like the recent Johnson & Johnson's vaccine pausing. However, there are some who are in the mindset that by 2030, we'll have not just better medical procedures, we'll be able to go and do fixing on a genetic level. Yes, we're talking about gene editing. Technically speaking, we already have gene editing right now, as there are some hospitals and clinical trials that are able to do gene editing on a certain level and only in very specific circumstances. But as years go on and those trials and tests expand, the possibilities are endless, and that's what many in the medical and science field are trying to achieve. Because think of it like this. Instead of having a multi-step vaccine, you can have your genes edited to go in naturally resistant all non-natural bioprocesses. One thing that more than likely will have happened by 2030 is the first manned mission to Mars. We say this because as of right now, both NASA and SpaceX are working on making this happen right now. In fact, they're already doing massive tests to see just how viable some of their crafts are in terms of their ability to get to Mars. SpaceX especially has gone and made great strides in the Mars mission because they were the ones who've tried to make it happen for almost 2 decades now. SpaceX was built by Elon Musk to go and invigorate the space race once again, and they succeeded in doing that. According to Elon Musk, the goal is to have a craft ready to send to Mars in the next few years. Colonizing Mars in full won't happen until much later. But as far as 2030, by that time, we could find ourselves celebrating not just getting to Mars, but going there multiple times. Because the goal is not a one-off trip, they want to test themselves, getting there, living there for a little while, coming back, and then going back to the red planet within a fair span of time to start the colonizing process. Musk himself has noted many times on Twitter that he wants a fully colonized home on Mars by 2050, and if SpaceX really does get us to Mars by 2030, that dream will be very much intact. But that's a little far from home, wouldn't you say? Let us know your opinion in the comment section below. This was all for today. Hope you liked the video. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Stay safe, and we'll be back soon with another video.